trying something a little different visually. So let me know what you think. We are also going to continue talking about Orruks, picking up where we left off with bestial realms. The mortal realms resounded to the thump of the iron jaws on the march, though they have conquered vast swaths of all the realms save celestial Azir. The warlike Orruks are strongest of all in Gur, the realm of beasts, where the land itself is as rugged and predatory as the iron jaws that originated from within it. The iron jaws arose from the bestial wilds of Gur in the primordial days of the Age of Myth. No one knows how they first appeared there, only that Orruks likely came from dark, forgotten places, and then surged out to take the lands from bestial monsters and warrior tribes alike. They have long since fought to dominate those lands. If any could be said to rule them, it is the Warclans under Gordrak, the Fist of Gork. Even during the Age of Chaos, where the vast majority of mortal races were under the heel of the Dark Gods, the Iron Jaws thrived. While they have since left trails of destruction across all the mortal realms, the realm of beasts still boasts the most Iron Jaws, and many of the greatest mega-bosses come from its savage kingdoms. Gur is home to countless dangerous and violent lands where the strong survive and the weak become meat. This predatory wilderness suits the Iron Jaws just fine. Endless wars against other Orruks, slavering beasts, and chaos warriors mean their warclans have always had an opportunity to vent their savagery. Just as an Orruk boss imposes dominance over their warclan, so too do the Iron Jaws dominate the wilderness of Gur. Teetering effigies of Gorkamorka, splintered woodlands, and mountains beaten into rubble are all signs left by the Iron Jaws that they're in charge. Once, the realm of beasts was filled with many noble empires ruled over by hunter kings and proud beast lords. Their domains were set atop snow-wreathed peaks, or amid subterranean cave networks that formed labyrinths of stone. The hinterlands were home to roving caravans miles in length, and palisade walls lined the hilltops like jagged crowns. Some townships were founded on the backs of surging ocean monsters, others in the canopies of drifting sky trees. The Iron Jaws toppled one after another. Whether a sky-born keep flew the banners of free people, or the eye-searing symbols of the minions of chaos mattered not to the Iron Jaws, only that they got up there somehow and toppled it back into the dirt. To stop the greenskins, their enemies constructed ever more elaborate defenses. walls laced with killing spells, living moats that consumed all who crossed them, and cities with vast piston-driven legs that could carry them to pastures anew. All failed before the simple, savage brutality of the Iron Jaws. As the Iron Jaw armies laid waste to Gur, they grew in size. Under the leadership of the mighty mega-bosses, they formed their mobs into groups, known as fists, and then even larger groups called brawls. Guided by these powerful greenskin warriors, they spread out into the other mortal realms, following Gorka Morka's constant call to invade 1,000 different lands and more. Iron Jaws do not build cities, for they are a nomadic culture, wandering from one place to another looking for battle, and pausing only long enough to loot before moving on. As a war clan travels the realms, it will assert its dominance over everything it meets, either killing them or, should they meet other Iron Jaws, adding them to their number. Sometimes they will make temporary bases in a place rich in Wa energy, maybe amongst the bones of some colossal monster slain during Gorka Morka's rampages in the Age of Myth, or on the site of a particularly good massacre. There, they soak up the bestial essence of the landscape, keeping busy by fighting amongst themselves until the largest of their number breaks enough heads to mount a new war. Orruks respect only strength, and other clans sometimes forget that the Iron Jaws are in charge. Most clans are quickly knocked into line, though some, like the unruly Bone Splitters, need constant reminding. By contrast, tribes of grots tend to steer clear of the Iron Jaws, though they do occasionally join forces. Even though they are not much use for fighting, some Iron Jaws keep grots about, either for tasks such as sorting through scrap piles and dragging loot about, or so they can throw them into the Grunta sty, which is always good for a laugh. There can be no mistaking the rough handiwork of the Iron Jaws, especially that of Dutchoppa's war clan, who love to inflict violence on the landscape as well as their victims. One of the Iron Jaw's most famous acts of vandalism was the defacement of the monolithic statue of Archaon that stood over the Manticore Realm Gate. 3 times have different Iron Jaw war clans brought it down. The first time, the Ever-Chosen's helm was carved into the grinning face of Gork, so Archaon sent a legion to reclaim it and guard its repair. The second time, the head was taken off entirely and replaced with a huge wooden grot head. Incensed, Archaon ordered the expansion of the Manticore Dreadhold. The third time, the Iron Jaws brought down the walls and raised a crude idol of Gork over the fallen statue of Archaon. Now, a new Lord of Chaos commands the rebuilt Manticore Dreadhold, peering into the wastes as Orruk drums rumble in the distance. It is only a matter of time before the region sees a war of titanic scale between the Iron Jaws and the forces of Archaon the Ever-Chosen. Gorka Morka's Rampage. The original Great Waa was started by Gorka Morka himself, and in some ways it has never stopped. When he was still part of the Pantheon of Order, Gorka Morka gladly fulfilled the role of monster hunter, leading his hordes in clubbing to death the greatest predators of the lands. The Orruk god's tremendous success, Sigmar claimed, served to pave the way for civilizations to sprout up in his wake without being preyed upon by monstrous fiends. Gorka Morka shrugged. He was just doing it for the fun of it. Yet it was not enough, especially when the arch-manipulator Tzeentch whispered in his ear that he was no longer his own ruler, but Sigmar's servant. Gorka Morka grew tired of the tedious commands and laws of the Pantheon of Order, and finally he snapped. The invasion that followed shattered everything. Mountains, citadels, thriving cities, and even the pantheonic truce between Sigmar and the god of the Orruks. The Greenskin Crusade swept from one end of the 8 realms to the other, leaving behind utter devastation. Upon reaching the edge of nothingness, and with nothing more than the etheric void before him, Gorka Morka spat over the edge of reality, then turned around and set off to do it all over again. The Great Waa only ended when Gorka Morka fractured into 2 beings, Gork and Mork. So innate was conflict to the great green god that he even fought himself. His warlike clans likewise broke into fragments and fought amongst themselves, for all else had already fallen before them, and still they thirsted for battle. The Orruks believe that when enough of them unite, the Great Waa will reform and smash the realms to pieces. The making of a war clan. A single mob of Iron Jaws is enough to sack a village, but when several mobs gather together, they attain a kind of critical mass that can see them bowl over enemy armies in a crashing tide of metal and dense green flesh. The largest gatherings are called Warclans, each fighting to outdo the others in terms of their killer reputations. Orruks, and most especially Iron Jaws, have a natural tendency to follow the largest, loudest, and most impressive of their number. This is partly for the simple reason that if they don't get in line, they may get a cracked skull for their trouble. It is also a form of hero worship, for the Orruks that act most like Gorka Morka are clearly closest to the epitome of all that is great and green. As a result, they are the most likely to lead their kin to the best fighting, and they are also the most likely to win and keep winning. This logic has ramifications across Orruk society, for the biggest of their number will lead until he meets a bigger leader, at which point he will be subsumed into the war clan of his new boss, and so on. This same logic of size and dominance is found no matter whether the Orruks hail from the rusty metal mountain of Scrappa Spill, or the sweltering jungles of Humidia in Giran. Each gathering of Orruks is known as a mob, a fitting name for such an unruly and violent assemblage. These mobs gather together by instinct, knowing that the more warriors they have, the bigger the fights they can start. The upper limit of these multi-mob gatherings, known as fists, is usually 5. That is the number of digits an Orruk has on one hand, and therefore the highest number he can comfortably count to without making his brain ache. Though it is said that Gordrak knows other more exotic numbers, such as 6 and even 10. There are many kinds of fists, ranging from weird fists gathered around a weird knob shaman, to ard fists that invariably comprise lesser iron jaws, hoping to be inspired to greatness by a particularly loud and impressive war chanter. When 5 such fists gather together, and when each boss works with his rivals toward the same goal, the resultant horde is known as a brawl. Each war clan has its own identity, usually influenced by the realm in which they spend most of their time. They will often daub themselves or their armor in bright colors, or bully some local grots into doing it for them, to show their allegiance and ensure that when they engage in truly spectacular feats of violence, there is no doubt about who committed the deed. These strident colors are complemented by the iconography of the clan: checkered patterns, stylized flames, jagged teeth designs, and the horned skull of the beast are much in evidence. Ironjaw's Warclans can come in almost any size, ranging from a single megaboss, war chanter, or weird knob shaman, followed by a motley assortment of Orruks, all the way up to continent-spanning Ironjaw empires, made up of scores of bosses and hundreds of thousands of greenskins, under the control of a single hulking megaboss. Most war clans' names are given to them by their leader and are usually something punchy and descriptive, all the better to intimidate prospective enemies. The blood grins, for instance, smear their mouths with the blood of those they have defeated, and leave gory handprints on their armor. Ironjaws of the Stone Skulls war clan paint their armor off-white, a reference to the bones of the numberless undead they destroyed across the prime inner lands before the Necroquake, or the Death Storm, as the Orruks call it, came along and spoiled all their fun. Other war clans take their names from the places where they were founded. These include the black-stained ash-eater boys of Akshi's Soot Peaks, the jade-armored tree-bitas of Verdia, and the infamous brutes of the Skybasha war clan, who have lately taken their salvaged Caradron scrap hulks to the skies of Gaemon's Spiral Crux. The most arrogant bosses, those who wish their names to resound across the annals of history, insist their war clan is named after them, and them alone. Brockjaw's Bitas, Zedek's Weird Lads, and the Hooktooth Scrappas are all examples of such clans, each of which is thronged with Orruks that would gladly follow their leaders into the hellish regions of the realm's edge. These war clans tend to be the most tightly knit of all, with the identity of the greenskins caught up in that of their leader, sometimes to such an extent that if the leader is killed in battle, the clan will still keep his name, and possibly his skull, to ensure his spirit can watch over the gory revenge his followers take in his name. These Iron Jaws are so stubborn in their beliefs that they like to claim they are never truly defeated as long as the name lives on, as was the case with the Grok Skull's Warclan, who carried the decapitated head of their megaboss with them so he could oversee the eventual destruction of his enemies. The clan's new leader, the weird boss Bag Stabba, claims to commune with the departed Grok Skull, whose name is now more fitting than ever, and hence rules with a combination of borrowed infamy and magical power that has proven all but unstoppable. Regardless of its name, a war clan's sole reason for existing is to make it easier to wreck everyone else's clans, tribes, and cities as often as possible. Raising idols, looting cities, and destructive vandalism are all secondary to the act of expending strength as impressively and frequently as possible. In this sense, war clans are purely catastrophic forces, moving across the realms and destroying everything and anyone with the audacity to be in the way. For every war clan that roams the mortal realms, there is a trail of broken empires, shattered lands, and feasting carrion birds left in its wake. War clans of infamy. There are thousands of war clans in existence, all hailing from different parts of the mortal realms, and owing to the miraculous portals known as realm gates, the infamy of the mightiest has spread far and wide. Knowing little of fear, they will match themselves against entire nations, and often emerge bloodied but triumphant. Iron Sons. Dokbad's Iron Sons love to show off, and since the armored immensity known as Dokbad took the position of Megaboss, they have been cockier and more aggressive than ever. Hailing from Gur, but with an eye for an opportunity, they are one of the largest war clans currently in existence, and they have fought their way across every realm save Azir. Their armor is a distinctive, eye-catching yellow, for the flashy Iron Sons love to be seen, heard, and feared throughout the lands. If anyone poses a threat to Gordrak, the Iron Sons say it is Dakbad. Dakbad Grot Kicker was once just another brute among the Gurish clans, known for his habit of wading into the lesser greenskins that followed the main body of the army, and booting them as far as he could in all directions, just for the hell of it. As the Iron Sons hunted the saurian megafauna of the Nashka Plateau, Dokbad picked his fights carefully, always attacking the creatures from the flank as his mates took the onslaught of their claws and teeth. Because of this innate cunning, he survived many a beast kill, growing to be the largest of those of his clan who still hunted there. Nearly all his rivals had been chomped by their monstrous prey, in some cases quite suddenly after being roughly shoved from behind. Soon enough, Dokbad was wading into the camps of the Ardboys and kicking them instead for his recreational needs. He rose through the ranks of his war clan, and many saw him as a natural choice for the next mega-boss. Not all the Iron Sons were oblivious to what was happening. Gutdruk Fourfist, the mega-boss of Dokbad's clan, got his head together with the other bosses one night. That day the clan had brought down a particularly massive Gargant. During the battle, Dokbad stayed well out of the way until the Gargant was toppled, and then he quickly darted in to deliver the death blow. As they gathered around the behemoth's carcass to devour it in a midnight victory feast, Gutdruk called Dokbad a coward in front of the entire clan. He challenged him to lead the next hunt if he thought he was so great, and make a headlong charge against the next mega-beast they saw. Dokbad simply shrugged, saying he was too busy eating to fight right then, but he accepted the challenge. Having spotted some telltale tracks the day before, he already had a plan in mind. When the son of Hish painted the Gurish savannah gold the next morning, Dokbad was already up and shouting. He led his bleary-eyed clan, still a bit worse for wear after the feast before, into the chasms near the Gargant's lair. There they followed the knuckle tracks of the Maw Crusha that the Gargant had kept as a pet. Dokbad was already leading the charge towards the beast before anyone knew what was happening, and not wanting to seem weak by comparison, Gutdruk and his mates chased after him. Upon hearing the Orruk clan's war cry, the Maw Crusha gave a bellow of outrage so loud that it burst the eardrums and addled the minds of all those Ironjaws nearby. Dokbad was the only exception. He had filled his ears with yellowish wax that he had scooped out of the fallen Gargant's head the night before, thereby escaping the worst of the roar's effects. He lagged back as the Maw Crusha lunged forward and bit Gutdruk's head clean off. Dokbad leapt, planting a foot on Gutdruk's squirting neck stump and leaping over the Maw Crusha's snapping jaws to land squarely on its back. He rode the irate beast like a bucking bronco as it stomped, punched, and gored the rest of his rivals to death, laughing all the while. The rest of the clan looked on in awe. Once the beast was sated, Dokbad told the survivors in no uncertain terms that he was now the mega-boss, and any who disputed it would be next in his Maw Crusha's belly. The creature itself, reasoning that Dokbad had fed him well, deigned to let the Ironjaw stay on its shoulders, so long as there was always a ready supply of food. Since that day, Dokbad and his Maw Crusha boss Biter have been the undisputed masters of the Iron Sons, crushing or kicking to death any foolish enough to challenge them. Dokbad ensures he always is first into the fray, Boss Biter barreling into the enemy as Dokbad decapitates his foes left and right to show he is still in charge. The Iron Sons have a well-deserved reputation for being good at all that thinkin' stuff, and they like to throw their weight around amongst the other Ironjaw's Warclans. They have many mega-bosses in their ranks, for Dokbad surrounds himself with other Orruks that are almost as cunning as he is. Some are the best of all their kind, able to think not only about the plan for tomorrow, but also the day after. These mega-bosses march amongst their brutes in something approaching military formations, a solid wall of armor and hard hard flesh from which the arrows and bolts of the enemy rebound to no avail. Though they are not exactly fast, when the iron suns reach the battle line of the foe, they strike with incredible force. And that is where we are going to bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.